There was a time when families didn't need screens to stay connected, when the sound of laughter echoed down hallways instead of texts pinging in silence, back when waiting for a letter felt like waiting for magic, and hearing your name called from the front porch meant someone you loved had come to find you. Those moments weren't just communication. They were connection. Real, warm, and full of heart. Today, we're looking at 10 old-fashioned ways families communicated before cell phones. 10 simple but powerful traditions that brought families together, one ring, one note, one shout at a time. The front porch call. Before doorbells and texting, there was the front porch call. You'd hear it from down the block. "Jimmy, dinner," shouted loud enough for half the neighborhood to hear. Kids playing stickball or chasing fireflies would freeze, then come running, shoes kicking up dust. Families didn't lock their doors back then. If grandma needed her daughter, she'd step onto the porch, cup her hands, and send her voice sailing through the summer air. It wasn't just practical, it was poetic. The whole street knew who lived where, and everyone looked out for each other. It worked because neighborhoods were tight-knit. Everyone knew the Johnsons' dog barked at mailmen, and that Mrs. Riley always waved from her swing. But as suburbs grew and homes spread apart, voices couldn't carry as far. Cars replaced walking and privacy fences went up. The front porch call faded, not because it failed, but because the world got quieter and somehow lonelier. Still, if you listen close on a warm evening, you might catch a distant echo, a parent calling a child home, just like they did in 1957. Passing notes at school. Backpacks weren't for laptops. They were for folded scraps of notebook paper. And inside, secret messages passed between siblings or best friends during class. "Meet me at the oak tree after school," or "Mom said yes about the puppy." These notes were tiny treasures, folded into squares, sometimes sealed with a doodle or a sticker, slipped quietly from desk to desk. Teachers hated them, of course, but catching a note only made it more exciting. What made this special was the suspense. Would it get delivered? Would someone read it first? And the handwriting, messy cursive, underlined words, little hearts, told you everything emojis never could. As schools cracked down and phones slipped into pockets, the art of the past note began to fade. But for a generation, it was how secrets traveled, friendships grew, and families stayed linked, one folded page at a time. The family radio check-in. In rural towns and farm country, cell towers were rare. So families turned to something stronger than Wi-Fi, radio waves. Many households had a shortwave or CB radio, especially in the 40s through the 70s. Every night at 6 p.m., families would gather around a crackling speaker to hear weather reports, local news, and personal messages. Imagine this. Your cousin broke his arm. The sheriff calls the radio station. Minutes later, your dad hears it while tuning in. Message to the Miller family. "Billy's okay. He's at County General." No phone tag. No voicemail. Just voice cutting through static, carrying comfort across miles of cornfields. It was community broadcasting at its most human. Neighbors used it to say, "Found your lost cow near the creek," or "We're praying for your mom." Eventually, landlines reached every farmhouse, and emergency alerts moved online. The family radio check-in became a relic. But for those who remember, the sound of a familiar voice on the air still brings a lump to the throat. The Sunday long-distance call. Long-distance calls were a big deal. They cost money, real money, so families saved them for Sundays. After church, the house would go quiet. The kids would be shushed. Someone would pick up the heavy receiver and dial slowly, carefully, each number clicking into place. You'd hear the long hum, then the ring, and finally, a voice from hundreds of miles away. "Hi, Mama." Tears would follow. Stories were shared. Babies were held up to the phone so Grandma could hear their coos. These calls were sacred. You didn't multitask. You sat. You listened. You remembered every word. Because you might not hear that voice again for months. With the rise of affordable calling plans and video chats, the ritual vanished. Calls became casual, constant, but maybe less meaningful. That once-a-month moment of focused love, hard to find now. The Message Chalkboard. Hanging in the kitchen, right by the back door, was a small chalkboard. Not for math homework, for family updates. Gone to Aunt Carol's back by 6. Or Dad picked up milk. Or call Sarah urgent. Everyone in the house checked it daily. Kids wrote reminders. Parents left encouragement. It was low-tech, yes, but always reliable. No password, no battery, no update needed. What made it special was the handwriting. Mom's neat print, Dad's rushed scribble, the child's lopsided letters. It felt personal. Human. When whiteboards and sticky notes arrived, the chalkboard didn't stand a chance. Dusty erasers and broken chalk gave way to bright colors and sleek surfaces. But something was lost. The soft squeak of chalk, the ritual of checking in before heading out the door. The neighborhood messenger. No email, no group chat. But every block had a secret weapon. The neighborhood messenger. Usually a kid on a bike, paid in soda or candy to deliver notes between houses. Need to tell Mrs. Thompson her pie was delicious? Write a note. Hand it to Timmy on his Schwinn. And within minutes, it's in her kitchen. Want to invite the Wilsons to dinner? Off it goes, tucked in a folder on the handlebars. These messengers knew everyone. They remembered allergies, birthdays, even which dogs to avoid. They weren't just couriers. They were keepers of community gossip and kindness. But as telephones became common and privacy concerns grew, the messenger faded out. Now we text instantly, but we rarely see the person who delivers the message. The family tree telephone chain. When something big happened, a birth, a death, a storm warning, families didn't post it online. They started a phone chain. Aunt Linda would call Cousin Mike. Mike would call Uncle Frank. Frank would call Grandma. One by one, the news traveled down the branches of the family tree, like water through roots. Each person added their voice, their emotion, their prayer. By the time the last call was made, the message wasn't just information. It was shared feeling. It took hours, sometimes a day, but it built closeness. Everyone felt included. Now, a single group text does the job in seconds. Fast? Yes. But the warmth of hearing Uncle Joe's shaky voice saying, "Your grandpa passed," well, that kind of care can't be rushed. Writing letters by hand. Before email, there was a mailbox. And nothing beats seeing your name written in familiar handwriting on an envelope. Grandma's letters came with pressed flowers. Dad's overseas letters smelled like stamps and adventure. Pen pals, even within the same family, exchanged pages filled with news, jokes, and drawings. People took time writing. They chose nice paper. They crossed out mistakes. And they waited, sometimes weeks, for a reply. That wait made the response feel like a gift. Letters were kept in shoe boxes, tied with ribbon, reread on hard days, passed down like heirlooms. Email and texting brought speed, but they stole the ritual, the touch of paper, the smell of ink, the joy of a stamp from another state. Handwritten letters didn't disappear. They just became rare. And today, finding one feels like uncovering treasure. The Rotary phone ritual. The Rotary phone. Heavy, beige, often stuck to the kitchen wall. Dialing was an event. You'd stick your finger in a hole, spin the wheel, wait for it to click back. Click, click, click. For each number. Wrong number? Start over. Busy signal? Try again in 10 minutes. And if someone else in the house picked up the extension, hey, I'm on the line. But here's what made it special. The sound. That ring, loud, metallic, impossible to ignore, meant someone wanted you. And when you answered, you gave your full attention. No multitasking. No notifications. Just you and the voice on the other end. The whole family shared one phone. Kids learned patience. Parents guarded privacy. When push-button phones arrived, the world got faster. But the rotary phone taught us to pause, to breathe before we spoke. Sitting around the table talking. Before TV dinners and smartphones, families ate together and talked. Really talked. No devices. No distractions. Just forks clinking. soup being passed, and questions like, "How was school?" or "Did you finish your chores?" Stories were told, jokes were shared, arguments were settled, and sometimes silence was okay too, just being together, knowing you belonged. This wasn't just dinner. It was the heartbeat of the home, where values were passed down, worries were lifted, and love was served with every meal. Today, we eat fast, alone, or while scrolling. We're more connected than ever. Yet many feel further apart. That old kitchen table, it wasn't just furniture. It was a bridge between generations, between hearts. We've gained so much with modern technology, but sometimes it's worth remembering the simple ways we used to reach one another. The shout across the yard, the note in a lunchbox, the late-night phone call from someone who missed you. Those moments didn't just share information. They shared soul. If any of these memories tug at your heart, leave a comment below. Tell us, what was your favorite way your family stayed in touch? Did grandma write letters? Did your dad use the CB radio? We'd love to hear your stories. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and join us next time when we'll explore 10 forgotten childhood traditions that built stronger kids. Until then, keep talking, keep listening, and never forget, the simplest words, spoken with love, are the ones we remember longest.